Yes, it's 1-0 to Manchester City. And Sibierski, good header, and it's knocked in by Reyna. Darius Vassell. Bernardo Silva, who finds the net. Aguero inside the area. It's Aguero with the goal.
With an impressive performance on Wednesday and that winning feeling returning, we go again against Fulham, who are fighting for their Premier League lives. We're in for a tough test at Craven Cottage, but the scintillating form of so many of our teams should be enough for another 3 points as we stride towards our third Premier League title in 4 years. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Natalie Pike and welcome to We're Not Really Here. It is, of course, a Saturday night here in the UK. And so when we were looking for our guests, we thought, let's get some movers and some shakers on the sofa tonight. And we are joined by Michael Brown and Richard Dunne. But before we speak to the gents, we're going to immediately bring you the big team news, as we know that's what you all want to hear. And there is 7 changes from the team that beat Southampton 5-2 on Wednesday night. So you are going to want to see this. So here is our starting 11 for tonight's game against Fulham. So in goal, it's of course Edison. And then we have in defence, Cancelo, Diaz, Stones, Laporte and Mendy. And then looking forward into midfield, maybe it's Rodri, Torres, Bernardo Silva, and then we have both Gabriel Jesus and Sergio Aguero starts, and he is captain tonight. And the bench, as I always say, what a phenomenal team on its own, is Stefan, Walker, Gundogan, Zinchenko, Kevin De Bruyne, Fernandinho, Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden and Garcia. So 7 changes from the team that beat Southampton midweek, and quite a lot to talk about. So I am very glad that I am joined by Michael Brown and Richard Dunne. We saw the team a couple of minutes ago. We've had a few minutes to kind of try and work out who's playing where. I still don't know, so I'm just going to chicken out and throw to Michael. Michael, who's playing where in that team?
Thanks very much. Richard just gets second bite of the cherry. Just waits along. And do you know what's great tonight? We were just talking, weren't we? Obviously, throw it to Dunne, centre back, and that story, isn't it? Which 2 do you pick of the 3? Well, the question's being made now. 3 centre backs: Stones, Diaz, Aymeric Laporte. Are we going to see a back 3 from Manchester City? You would think so. There is some alternatives that he could throw in there, and you know Pep's really good at doing that. So it might be that back 3: Stones, Diaz, Aymeric Laporte, right hand side Cancelo. We might see Mendy on the left, Rodri and possibly Bernardo, and maybe a front 3. Now that extra support with Sergio Aguero at the top of the pitch, Gabriel Jesus one side and possibly Torres to the other. We could, Richard, we've just been discussing, we have seen Stones play in that holding role, so it'll be fascinating. But it's Pep. We're trying to guess him, we're trying to be a step ahead, and I know Fulham will be doing the same right now in that dressing room.
Yeah, we should know better by now than try and guess, shouldn't we? But Richard, yes, straight away, do you agree with Michael? Do you think that's the kind of positioning we're going to be looking at tonight?
On paper, that's what it looks like. I think we all expected some changes tonight, but probably not a change in formation and such a big movement away from what they've been doing over the last couple of months. But Fulham had a really good result at Anfield last week. They beat Liverpool and they played with Lookman really getting in behind on the left wing. So maybe they're thinking they need a bit more cover down that side. And John Stones can either play into that centre midfield role. He can also drop in as a right back when needed, and Laporte, Diaz, and then Mendy. And there's just so many different permutations. You don't know what the team's going to look like on the pitch. But he's shown, I think, a bit of respect to Fulham and how they have played on the break in recent weeks. And he's given himself options that the team can rotate and be very fluid in the 11 that he's chosen.
If we are looking at kind of what our first instincts of having the three centre-backs and then Mendy and Cancelo pushing more into midfield, in terms of really basically, what changes does that make having the three of them as centre-backs?
I think it gives the guys in front of them that little bit more freedom and security to know that there's always going to be three behind them at least. Rodri will always be in that role as well, and we've seen in recent weeks when Cancelo comes into midfield that Stones can drop out onto that right hand side, or if it's on the left hand side, Laporte has dropped out that way. So both them centre halves, they know how to play in the wider areas, and I think going forward it just gives them more options. You might see two wingers in Jesus and Torres who have more sort of freedom to come inside and attack inside areas and let the two wing backs overlap on the outside.
Yeah, so we might end up seeing a back four, but with Cancelo pushing up into midfield, maybe.
Well, listen, there's all those different options. And I think what we've got to know is Fulham play football. They want to play from the back. They want to set off. And I think one thing with Sergio Aguero, you know, and when he's not played, his pressing won't be as strong. So how do you get that front three, and how do you keep the press and then not to be vulnerable? Because they are quite good at getting out in those areas. And with a four, if he feels that Fulham have only played those two centre mids, so we'll say, well, I'll match those two up. I'm not worried about 3 for 2 in there, so we'll change. We'll go to a wing back. I mean, they don't have to do that, Manchester City. I think they can get round without doing that. But are we looking at, you know, along the line to see that back three? Do those need to have a game just in case something different comes up in the Champions League, where we see a different opponent? And we know they're all capable. We want to see them all playing. We've seen Laporte dropping at left back as well. We've seen them on different occasions, and he feels like 90 minutes are needed for everybody. So there's all these little ways of thinking how you play against the opposition. Against the Fulham side, you wouldn't expect that he would show them as much respect regarding, well, we've got to keep the press on with those three, lose the one in the midfield. So, real interesting one.
Well, we've got an interview now from Pep. I've not heard it yet. It's just happened, so maybe he might give us some further insight into his thinking.
Pep, you've got a fully fit squad to choose from, 7 changes tonight. Was tonight about giving players more minutes to change the formation, or was it about the opposition? Just talk us through your thinking.
What we have done the last 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, so everybody is involved.
No Raheem Sterling, though, this evening. Is that an injury concern?
No.
Just rotation?
Yeah.
Sergio Aguero captains the side tonight, makes his 4th start. We've obviously not seen as much of him this season. What are you seeing in training? Is he still that same Aguero in training that you're seeing? Same quality, same fitness?
The sense of goal always have and will have. So no doubts about that. So we thought today is a good day for him, and that's why he plays.
You come up against former City defender in Tosin, who's been pivotal for Fulham this season. What did you see in him whilst he was at City, and what are you seeing now?
First of all, I would like to say how happy we are, all of us, for what he is doing. So he's a guy for the academy, and finally he took his position in the Premier League, and we are more than delighted at the level he's showing. He deserves it. He deserves it because he's an exceptional person and a good footballer.
You've spoken about how you admire the way Fulham approach things and Scott Parker. Are these the games that you enjoy and you look forward to?
If we win, yeah. If you don't, no. So, of course, respect for what they have done so far, and it's a young managers, and they are growing in the right way, and Fulham is nice to watch from the beginning of the season.
Thanks, Pep.
You're very welcome.
So that was the thoughts of our manager Pep Guardiola before tonight's 8 p.m. kickoff against Fulham. And he's talked in his press conferences this week as well about the respect that he has for Scott Parker and the way that Fulham play. Do you think this team selection, Richard, is kind of demonstrates that respect he seems to have for Fulham?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's probably a little bit wary of what Scott Parker's going to throw at him tonight, because he is a manager who thinks a lot of Scott Parker, and he has changed as the season has progressed. All credit to him, because when they played, I think they played Arsenal the first game of the season, and they looked hopeless. They looked a million miles away. The whole team looked out shape and wrong, and he's worked on it and he's got it right. And over the last couple of months, they've been the form team in the Premier League, and they can grind out a result and put themselves in a great position to get out of the relegation zone. So I think the Pep understands that tonight's not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be difficult, and it's probably the team sheet reflects what he thinks about it.
Yeah, Fulham are actually the form team defensively in the league at the minute, which is nuts. They've only conceded 1 goal in their last 8 games, which demonstrates kind of how good they are defensively, Michael. It
does, and not generally they've been criticised over the last couple of seasons, Fulham, about when they're in Premier League how leaky they are, the defence, where they need to improve. It's cost them at the top of the pitch, and they're not scoring so many goals. I think seven goals for the top scorer, which is Reed, which is low. Mitrovic only on 3, which tells you they've changed something. But only 33 goals against is sort of the best in the bottom half. So they are improving. They're getting better. I think, as I said to you, they've got some confidence. When you're looking up the table, it looked like the gap was too far for them. And now all of a sudden, they're right there. So the confidence will be really high. And they've realised that gap's closing. So now going forward, to win at Liverpool, not won back-to-back games, and it's Liverpool, Manchester City. They'd have said they'd have took anything from the Liverpool game. They've gone on and won another tough game, but they're changing things all the time. They're allowed to be free-flowing. They want to adapt. We've seen Loftus-Cheek come in the team. Then at Liverpool, he doesn't play. Real talent, one to watch, as we know he's got great ability. He comes back in. So there's a few changes. So it's not only Pep thinking about what Scott Parker's going to do. There's a new manager coming into the league. I think he's doing a really good job.
Yeah, and they've had 5 clean sheets in the last 7, which, is amazing as well. So let's have a look now at that Fulham starting 11. So in goal, Areola. And then we have Tete, Anderson, Loftus-Cheek, Adebayo. I've said that name a million times when he's with us. Adebayo. Trust me. Cavallero, Lamina, Lookman, Reed, Anguissa and Aina. Trust me to get the ex-City player, the only one I get wrong tonight. Crikey. Natalie. Right, so that is the starting 11 for Fulham tonight. Seeing that starting 11 now, Michael, is there anything that's standing out for you?
Well, he's not played Josh Maja at the top of the pitch. Again, will he play with sort of a false 9, Cavallero, Lockman, who can really hurt you in wide areas, but are they going to play a little bit more central? Just trying to see how he's going to set up. It's a difficult one. Well, Lamina just playing behind, but that would be the 3 in midfield, which would be a different scenario that we wouldn't see from this Fulham side. Anguissa, Reed, Loftus-Cheek, Lamina. The back 4 stays as it is, and we've seen that's been very, very consistent. So Scott Parker's left that alone, but will he change? Will he go to a diamond? Will he try and play in those areas? But what we do know is with Lookman at the top of the pitch, he has got the real quality. He's the one in the dressing room that they all look to, and they think he's a really good sign, and he could be the difference. When he gets the ball, if he plays, he is dangerous. So it's a real, it's a real challenging game in different styles, and we're seeing different formations as well.
I think as well, when Pep would have looked at the game that they played last week, and they were brave enough to go to Anfield and play a 4-4-2. So for him, he's probably thinking, well, if I get 3 centre-halves on the pitch to counteract their 2 strikers, and now all of a sudden there's only 1 striker on the field, they probably have 2 wide wingers, and it's so intriguing. Like, tactically, it's what the Premier League has become more and more this season, is the tactical battle before games. And certainly for us to talk about is great, but it's going to be great to watch the opening few minutes of the game.
It's great, isn't it, to see where we're going to see that. So, where's the key areas? So then they're all thinking, and it's amazing. We talked about this before, haven't we? Do you overthink at times when you're Manchester City and you're going so well, not really conceding goals? Well, very rarely. So it's fascinating, and it is Fulham, and I think you have to respect them. I think that's where Pep Guardiola is really, really good. He respects the sides he's coming up against. He looks into that detail and finds out where the weaknesses are and where he feels that they can really get onto it. He also, for me, he has to look at the games he's got coming up, and I do really believe that he is a planner, and he does really, really think right into that detail. And I'm really interested to see if that back 3 is going to play, whether that'll be something that City will use before the end of the season.
I've really enjoyed watching Fulham this season. Almost, it feels like their position isn't. When you watch them, you're surprised where their position is. But it is probably that lack. Well, it is that lack of goals that you've talked about. In terms of Scott Parker, though, you know, a young English manager, Pep was very complimentary about him this week. How do you think he's done this season?
He's done great. I mean, I've covered Fulham quite a bit at the playoff final. I was there when they did it, and I've seen Scott, and they invited us into the hotel afterwards, and the party that they were having and celebrating. You could just see the smile on. He couldn't take it off his face, Scott, and he realised what he had. The challenges going forward, how he took the team when they were pretty much relegated. He had to bring them back up. His signings took a while, so the board wanted to control, because they lost so much money the first time. They wanted to control it, be a little bit tighter, and I think he was a little bit behind when he set off regards to his team, the recruitment. So he was fighting that. But once he's got it together, he seems to have got that style, he's got that understanding. We know what type of player he was. I mean, he wants that sort of real grit in his side, but lack of goals at the top of the pitch is a real worry for him, and it has been an issue which would have done them a little bit better if they could have got some more goals.
And as we said, they of course got that win at Anfield last week. A little bit less impressive these days, but they still got it. So you know, we do have to be careful, of course, tonight. Now we are going to hear from Benjamin Mendy now, who of course is part of these 7 changes tonight. So let's see if he gives us any indication of where he's going to be playing.
Benjamin, when there's a fully fit squad to choose from, I imagine the competition is pretty fierce. You must be pleased to be starting this one.
Yeah, we know that already with the player we had. And the manager is a big manager for that. He knows how to manage the team, and we are all ready to play when we need to help the squad.
A real contest in the week. How important was that game and result in response to the Derby defeat?
Yeah, after the defeat, we need to bounce back, and we make it, and we want the same for today to be focused on the 3 points and try to do our game.
Fulham are playing with confidence off the back of that result last week. The manager is a fan. What impression do you get from Fulham from what you've seen?
Yeah, they come back good. They go back well with the ball, and yeah, it's gonna be a hard game. We play away. They need to win also for go back on the classman point, and yeah, what I said before, we're gonna be focused on us and try to do our game.
Thanks, Benjamin.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
That was the thoughts of Benjamin Mendy ahead of tonight's 8 o'clock kickoff with Fulham, giving us no extra indications there. Is he playing in defence? Is he playing in midfield? Is he playing in both? Who knows? But we will know after kickoff at 8 o'clock this evening. Now, we of course have already played Fulham this season. Tonight is at Craven Cottage, and it's a cracking away day. If you have never had an away day at Fulham, if they stay up, you've got to try and get there next season. It is a brilliant away day. But we had them here in December, and of course we won that game 2-0. We're going to have a little look at some of the highlights now. Goals, in case you have forgotten, by Kevin De Bruyne and Raheem Sterling, both who don't play tonight. Kevin De Bruyne on the bench. Do you remember the game, Michael, from last? It's funny, I always ask people, what do you remember about this game? It wasn't that long ago, but do you remember much about it?
Do you know what? They all roll into one at the moment.
So many, yeah.
It's so difficult when you. I mean, City play every 3 days, and it's incredible. I mean, it was a great ball again, wasn't it? Kevin De Bruyne, Raheem Sterling. We've seen that in so many sort of clips throughout the years, and so it tells you, Fulham coming to the Etihad, you would expect a real comfortable day for City, but there was a few issues, there was a few problems, and obviously they got to get that win. And Kevin De Bruyne, as we know, stepping up with penalties.
I think when the game started, they actually started with a 4-6 formation, and they tried to just hold out and make it really tight and send City wide and block the middle areas, and it looked like it was going to be awkward, but then they get the 2 goals and you think they'll go on and score more, but again they sort of shut up shop and made it difficult for City. So it was almost what they're going to try and do today, but I think they've got a little bit more adventure about them, a bit more confidence about what they're doing at the moment, so they might try and attack when they get the opportunity.
So really, really looking forward to tonight's game. Really looking forward to playing the what position is everyone playing game that I do at the start of every game. Of course, as we've said, game after game, we played on Wednesday night against Southampton. Of course 5-2, brilliant victory, getting us back onto winning ways. What stood out for you most in that game, Michael?
I think it was just important, wasn't it, to play quite quickly after the weekend, get out there to score. Comfortably the amount of goals that they did is a really good return. Yes, they're conceding goals, and we've seen different personnel again coming in, and Phil Foden getting to the end of it, Kevin De Bruyne. We've seen just a real solid performance. It's a fun. Southampton are a really strange side, aren't they? They're inconsistent. 1 week really well, 1 week they're getting beat 9. It's incredible to see, but I think it was just important to go and get a good result, solid performance, and to get some goals. So it was a really good night in the end for me.
Of course, we're seeing the Southampton penalty there where they levelled with us. Great show of mentality from us to go on after they'd equalised. And this, Richard, what did you make of that?
Absolutely ridiculous. And even when you're watching on TV and the commentators were saying, no, I don't think he's touched them. It was clearly obvious that he's touched them, and how, all right, the referee doesn't see it, that happens, but the guys on VAR, how they didn't see it is ridiculous, and they don't know what they were doing. And like this, what Michael's saying about Southampton, they're good, but they make silly mistakes. They actually looked all right going forward and organised, but then the goals that we scored, they were nowhere to be seen at times. And you give him the ball anywhere in the pitch, you're in trouble. And nice to see Gundogan back getting a few goals as well.
Riyad Mahrez finishing. Great, wasn't it? To cut in like that, right across the face of the goal, and to get his shots away. I think he's really coming to form, and this again, really difficult, fast feet, awareness still to get. I mean, he's facing away from goal, so actually to still go and find is a real special finish. But we're just going on to the penalty decision. It's
ridiculous.
What are they looking at? It's so tough.
Looking at though?
And I've got to say, in commentary you get one look a little bit, and it's a little bit difficult at times when you're doing it. You've got to be quick. But the VAR, they've managed to get lots of clips. They've managed to slow it down. They've had a good look at it. They've really got that wrong. And at that point, they've got to come out and say why and what have they done wrong. So it was a great performance. It could have been even better for City.
I think as well, when you look at obviously the derby game at the weekend, Man United had a go at Man City. They hit them on the break, and they exploited the opportunities that came along. And other teams will start to believe, well, if we defend well and we hit them on the break. So Southampton tried it a little bit, and they found out teams like that, if they come at Man City, they'll get hammered. And I think Man City hammered them in the end because they were brave enough to attack, and they thought, well, maybe we can take these chances, but it doesn't happen every week, and they had too much for them.
Do you think, like I've said this before, that I feel that City could be counter-attacked at time when they come out, and I think this year they've been excellent at it. Manchester United, yes, there could have been improvement for sure, but that's the first time I've really seen there's been a little bit exposed. I think they've been really good at it.
Yeah, they've been excellent, and one of the things I've been watching and trying to analyse over the last couple of weeks to see how they do it. And it's basically they get the other team to slow down and become walking football, and they pass it, and they're all stood still, and they all pass it, and then they open up when they get into the dangerous areas. If the other team makes the game into an end-to-end match, City can get pulled out of positions, and it makes a more intense match, more difficult to control, and it becomes end-to-end. Whereas once they control it, once they have the ball and it goes backwards and they make 5 or 6 passes, then they get in the rhythm and then they go at it again. And they've managed to do it. I mean, Man United made it difficult for them, but
the start there, I think we also say as well is the start was such a rare start. The penalty, 30-odd seconds, it changes everything. The second goal is what Pep Guardiola will be really, really annoyed about. He accepts the first one, you're just getting going. The second one is what we're talking about, that counter-attack, and at that point, that makes it so difficult to recover from.
Sergio Aguero there training. It's always a joy to see Sergio back, and he's captaining tonight. Also loving that training kit. Excellent training kit, everybody. So yeah, great to see Sergio Aguero back tonight.
You might be able to wear one of those on the next show, Natalie, one of those nice training tops.
I think.
Yeah, it'd be good, that, wouldn't it?
That'd be lovely, that. Yeah, would you like to wear
nice
one?
It was Sergio Aguero.
Richard would like to wear one too. Going back to Wednesday, of course, the man of the match and the star of the show for me on Wednesday night was Riyad Mahrez. Not only were some of his goals individual, spectacular goals, his overall contribution to the team. I think he's been one of our best players this year. from 2021, certainly. We've got a beautiful view of some of the goals now, of Mahrez's goals, this wonderful camera angle that we get. Could you talk us through these goals, Michael?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think, as a player coming in off the line, I think we've seen that. We've seen Riyad Mahrez play down the left-hand side, play down the right. And that's the benefit which Pep's put in place, is coming in onto that natural left foot. We've seen Raheem Sterling coming in on his right foot. But he's got such ability with his quick feet, for me, that he can change direction. So once he opens up, he knows exactly where he's going. The pitch is there, is great. And to have that ability to still find that corner, it's a great finish, because you look like there's no gap there for him to do it. Maybe the goalkeeper's unsighted where you draw the centre-backs across, but the execution, it's the power as well. No backlift, so you don't know when the shot's coming. He takes it really quick. And as Alex McCarthy there just doesn't get it. And he's got confidence to do it now.
Yeah. I think as a defender, you know exactly what he's going to do. And you think, well, just, come on. And then he does it, and you can't do anything about it. And it's so frustrating, but like Michael says, how quick his feet are, how good the ability is, and the ball doesn't get away from him. I think he's probably got the best first touch in the Premier League, the way he does it, and his form lately. He's the one player that you look to at Man City now who can really create things and open other oppositions up.
And you can only imagine that he's been rested tonight as well, I guess. Let's have a look at the second goal as well, Richard, if you'd like to give us your thoughts on this.
Yeah, again, he's facing the other goal, so most people would, in the box, you've got 2 touches, control it and shoot. He's got the confidence to take 5 or 6 and wait until that actual moment comes that he's got the perfect opportunity to score. And it's like that, once you get in the box now, you can't touch anyone, and with him, he almost teases you into it.
But that position there, where his back's to goal.
Yeah.
His back's to goal, and you see that clip. He's away, he's thinking, what can he do? He normally, as a wide player or a centre forward in that position, you're looking at the edge of the area, can you set it off type thing. And he's thinking, well, I just want to get another goal. Where can I be attacking? I've got a real taste for it. It's great to see him finish from there, isn't it? It's the centre of the box. I mean, for it to carry on and get it away, it is good.
He's definitely one of my players of this year so far. I think his form's been phenomenal. I particularly love his form and when he's also playing with Bernardo Silva. And I've mentioned it a few times on this show. And he himself did an interview where he talked about the telepathic relationship that we have with a little man that we can see now. What is it about that partnership, Michael, that makes them work so well together?
Do you get an understanding with certain players, and Richard will tell you, certain centre-backs or a centre midfield player, for instance, in front of you. You get on well at times, and it seems to be the ones where you're in twos, where you do the training drills together, and you just get a nice feel for someone, and you feel like they're going to look for you. Their game suits where you're going as well, and I think Bernardo's been exceptional for me as well. I think what I love mostly is his creative ability is there for all to see, but his unselfishness with the way he tracks back, the way he tackles, the energy he puts in. And he doesn't seem to make any fuss, does he? He just seems to get on with his job. I think he'd be one of those that you'd want in your team all day long. Manager's dream, probably. Not even a question asked. So having that understanding and just being aware of your teammate, wanting to look for somebody who you believe is going to be in those positions. So really forging a good understanding.
It helps when you're as talented as them two as well. them two are outstanding footballers. So. And I think with them both being left-footed, they can probably change positions a lot easier. They can swap and they can play each other's roles. But when the two of them are on form, and I found it difficult when you're playing against a small, sort of low-balanced player who keeps moving the ball, and they try and get close, and they turn and they twist and they get away from you. It's a nightmare to play against. And these two are the best at it in the Premier League. Left-footers that can come inside, they're outstanding.
What he's trying to tell you is you can't get the elbow in. The Richard Dunne sort of arm across. They can just sort of drift underneath it and get out of the way of that block. But it is hard. It's the way of the size of player like that, they can change direction.
Yeah.
They're so low gravity, they can take the ball under difficult circumstances with somebody right behind them. It's great talent to have, isn't it? They are different, but Riyad Mahrez, I don't know if it's a confidence thing. Do you know when he seems to do well, he all of a sudden has a fantastic few weeks, and it gets better and better for him. Then a couple of quieter weeks, or he really feels like there's space there, and he goes and gets on it. And I still think he's got so much to offer going down the line as well quicker, but he does like to come inside more. But it's great to watch sort of different styles within a football team that can still offer so much.
Yeah, and he's been involved, Mahrez, in 5 goals in his last 5 league appearances, 3 goals and 2 assists. We talk about, as I say, he described the relationship as telepathic. Did you ever have a telepathic relationship with anyone you played with, Richard?
When I played here with Sylvan, we had a good understanding. We actually he lived upstairs and I lived downstairs in an apartment block, so we knew each other well, and I don't know, just when with me being right-footed and him left-footed, it just seemed to all work well. I wouldn't say it was telepathic. It was panic at times, trying to help each other out. But the balance was right, and you start to get into that sort of situation where you have the confidence to go and do something, because you know if you get it wrong, your mate will always cover you. And I think that's what it is, having that trust and confidence in someone else. It gives you that little bit more confidence in yourself.
Who was the noisy neighbour then? You got to look at
Sylvan moved out in the end.
That tells us then,
That tells you everything, doesn't it?
How about yourself? Who was your telepathic partner?
So I had a few throughout the years. For me, I played with so many different players, moving so much as I did, and I think you just get a different blend of different teams, whether you play in a 2 or whether you play in a 3 in a midfield area. I think that's always a one, or a striker that you always knew what he wants. So as a midfield player, for instance, if the ball's dead, you'd know that he'd always go on the shoulder straight away. So any dead ball, you know, you can go and clip that. Or just different understandings you've got throughout. So it's, I think it's important as well that you get on. You know, if you get on with somebody, you do seem to have that relationship that goes on for many years. I think I've caused trouble with a few midfield partners along the way, as you can imagine. Getting myself into trouble, on the pitch.
You in trouble?
No, it's good, isn't it? It's all about finding a way to affect the team, to affect the game. Where can you try and bring success for it? And there's many ways to bring it on the football pitch, and I think the City have got a lot of those combinations.
Never believed Michael Brown got in trouble. No way. So we're about half an hour till kick-off in our 8 p.m. Saturday night kick-off against Fulham. Now, Rodri may not get as many headlines as many of the other midfielders in our team, but he is certainly integral to Pep's style of play. Now into his 2nd season at City, City TV caught up with him to ask some quick-fire questions.
What was your first match for Manchester City?
Well, my first game for City was against Liverpool, the Community Shield, and we achieved that title.
What were your first thoughts when you trained with the team?
My first thought when I trained with the team was what an unbelievable squad I arrived, and for sure I have many things to learn.
Which was your best match for Manchester City?
Yeah, I think my best game for City was against Burnley.
Rodrigo certainly didn't think twice about this one. Which was your toughest match for City?
I think the most difficult game for us, I would say against Liverpool in Anfield.
It's a corner. Score. Bernardo Silva swept it in.
Which was your first goal for City?
Yeah, my first goal was against Norwich, and well, it was not the greatest experience because we were losing that game, but it was a good shot for me, and very happy for the first goal.
Rigo lines up a shot, and it's found its way in. There's still time for City.
What's the most painful thing you've experienced on the pitch?
For sure, it was my first game at City. One handbag of Antonio in the West Ham game, and he knocked me out, and he welcomed me into the Premier League.
That was another stray arm, this time from Antonio on the new City signing.
So that was Rodri, and he certainly just seems to go about his business quietly, just getting on with his job. I feel like he's probably one of the most underappreciated players in the team just now. How important is his influence, Michael?
Do you know what was interesting there? He's too tall to avoid the elbow, isn't he? Just straight away that we've just been discussing. Mikel Antonio sort of just got that arm across and said, welcome. It was brilliant that he actually said he was welcomed almost. He realised it wasn't going to be as comfortable as you'd expect. Do you know, and I think I watched him a lot. I was wondering what he was going to bring. I think he was a slow starter, and you just started to feel his way and not give the ball away so much and find out where he needs to be. Fernandinho is obviously a one that he can go and learn from every day. It doesn't get better than to learn from the best holding midfield player, and I think he's got really better as the seasons have gone on, and he understands the role. And I think that's what's really telling. And Pep now playing him at all the big games, and he seems to be enjoying his football. And why wouldn't you play him in this side? But he understands it. His distances are much better, I feel, and he doesn't give the ball away so much in some of the areas that he possibly did. But you are chasing round, you're filling spaces, and when the ball comes to you, people say, well, why have you give the ball away? Well, I've just done this, and this that nobody sees, and I think he's got much better with his decision making.
Seen him as well. There was an article last week about him, and he's doing a degree, and he's studying, and he doesn't miss any of his classes. He's there every time, and he's got such a busy schedule as well for City, so fair play to him.
He's super humble. So he was doing that business degree when he was at Villarreal, I think it was, and he was living in the student halls while playing professional football. So
There's only a couple of clever ones, isn't there, Dunne? With special degrees and... You know.
So yes, very very humble and talented man. But it's not only our men's team that are flying high at the minute. Our women's team are as well. And last week they secured a spot in the Champions League quarter-finals with a huge victory over Fiorentina. It was 5-0 this week, taking it to 8-0 on aggregate. So brilliant achievement through to the quarter-finals for the women. Richard, I know that you watched the game. What did you make of the performance?
I thought they were outstanding. Obviously going to any away game is going to be difficult, but they completely controlled it. To score 5 goals away in Italy is fantastic, and they looked like a side that they look well coached. Well, they understand what they want to do, and they played the Man City way, which is great to see. And some of the goals and the finishes are fantastic. So there's probably tougher games to come in the competition, but every round that you progress in the Champions League is fantastic, and it gives them great experience as well.
Yeah, we've drawn Barcelona in the next round, and Barcelona are currently top of the league in Spain. As you know, we see in the highlights here, so many goals. You know, regardless of the team, you know, at this stage of the Champions League, to score this many goals is phenomenal. And we were talking before the game, Richard, about the skills of Rose Lavelle as well, and you were saying how impressed you were with some of her tricks and skills that she was showing off in the game.
It was fantastic. It was like Riyad Mahrez, the way she was moving around. And you say, being on a Saturday night now, it looked like she was on a dance floor. She just had so much control of the ball, just moved it, twisted. She had lovely feet and was really creative. And I think she's just come from the US and obviously a star player over there, and probably hasn't found it as easy in the Premier League here. But against Fiorentina the other day, she was outstanding.
Yeah, and we're seeing all the goals here now. Such an absolute joy. Of course, the women's team will be targeting the Champions League just as the men's team are this year. Been knocked out in the last few years by that ultimate dominant Lyon side. So we'll be looking forward to the game against Barcelona, which is in a couple of weeks. I think it's the 23rd, 24th of March, and we'll be certainly keeping an eye out on that Champions League draw as well. And I think we're going to see some of the Rose Lavelle skills that we were just talking about there. Just in case you haven't seen them yet, you are going to be mighty impressed. So these are some of the skills that Richard was talking about there from Rose Lavelle. Very Riyad Mahrez, like you say, Richard.
Brilliant. Yeah, it was great, and it was in an important area. It was in the middle of the pitch, you know, so there was people around there, but she could just move and twist, and it was fantastic to watch.
So the men's team are flying high, the women's team are flying high, and so are our youth teams. So they had a couple of big games this week. We're going to take a little look at some of the highlights from that. So they won 5-0 against West Ham on Monday gone, and then they secured a win in the FA Youth Cup last night, 6-1 against Birmingham. Now they're also playing, just in case you didn't know, on Monday night. Now you can get loads and loads of the youth games, the EDS games, the women's games available on City Plus. Plus. So it's well worth subscribing to City Plus, so you can get City more, watch more and more City. Have you seen much of the EDS youth or the youth team this season so far, Michael?
I haven't seen too much, but obviously I think what I do know is the opportunity is much better. You know, I think I looked sort of 18 months ago and you're thinking what pathway we're seeing, obviously the Phil Fordens, etc., to come into the team. But now I feel like they're really getting to train with the first team. They're getting to with so many games, and obviously Delap, what everybody's talking about now. I think he's maturing sort of above his years, really, and I think he's getting better and better. So he's the next one I'm looking forward to seeing what development, what pathway, where's he going to be, where's he going to play, what games will he be given. I mean, the talent that they've got now in the level is just remarkable, and the understanding, the style, the way they play. You know, it's not a bad finish, is it? Into the top corner, fantastic.
You mentioned Liam Delap, and I know that Richard's got an eye on him, hoping that he might pledge his allegiance to Ireland. He's a phenomenal player and so young, so to be so strong and so much potential.
He's outstanding, and when you see him with the EDS, he looks like a man playing in a boys' league at times. And I played with his dad for Ireland on numerous occasions, and I know there is some interest from the Republic to try and get him into the setup at some stage, but for me, he's a first team player for Ireland. He's probably the best striker that Ireland would have, and I think if he could declare for Ireland, it'd be a dream for us lot, and we're looking for that centre forward.
I think he's just got to take his time.
He's
just got to take his time, just relax, just see how his career's going. He's got to concentrate on Manchester City at the moment. You got to just see how he gets on and develop. His dad knows that his dad understands it. He knows the game.
His dad who played for Ireland.
Yes.
Yeah, but he knows, doesn't he, really? He knows.
So we're seeing some more of the highlights from the games this week. So obviously the youth team are the current holders of the FA Youth Cup. So they were defending their title for the first time. Talking about Delap here, if we get a close-up of this finish, if we can see it in a second, it is a stunning back heel from him as well. So there you go. Richard, I feel like you need to be going down there and having a word.
It's the academy recruitment as well, isn't there, on Delap? Yeah. And we've got to say that they've got the network everywhere, so full credit to the academy. Seeing him at Derby and he came through, there was one to watch, and he progressed well. And
that's the thing when you look at City and people go on about how much money they've spent, and there's not a player in there that another club couldn't afford, but they've gone and recruited right, whether it be in the first team or the youth team. They've bought players who will fit in with the club, not just anybody. They've gone and done the homework on players, and Delap's another one, a young player, cheap enough to get. But it's realising and seeing the potential in these players, and the setup at City and the network, the scouting network's fantastic for that.
Absolutely. So a really great week for the club, for the men's team, for the women's team, and for our youth teams as well. So, of course, Fulham tonight, 8 p.m. Now, we're going to go back in time a little bit, and we're going to go to the 9th of April, 2007, a game where we played Fulham, and both of these gentlemen played, but on opposing sides. So, let's have a little look at some of the highlights now. And again, that wide question, Richard, do you remember this game at all?
I don't, but I'm enjoying seeing fans at it, and the sun looks like it was shining, but it's we used to enjoy playing.
That guy on the left looks a lot younger than you there. Sure.
That's amazing. So you were both captains that day. That's brilliant. Who's the better captain?
Well, it was good. It was nice to see Richard there, but the result didn't go to plan for me. Obviously, Manchester City getting the better, but it's just great memories, and I think it just shows, doesn't it, when you start to see your games back and you realise the games you played in the Premier League, you are very fortunate, and I don't know what Rich thinks. I miss it. You're very privileged to go and play. Look at just having the fans there at the Cottage. It was a brilliant place to play football, and still is. And I think obviously the new standards getting better and better.
I'm pretty sure I was probably there because I used to go to all the London away games around those seasons, and it was a cracking. I
see someone in the crowd that day shouting really, really loud, and
were they shouting abuse at you?
Really shouting loud, and
may have been me. That was a cracking goal, by the way.
I don't think Liam Rossini will be showing that to his Derby team at the moment, assistant manager.
We both Fulham and City stayed up that year. Bit of a tough season for us that year, though. Certainly in front of goal, Richard.
It was a very difficult season, yeah, and that's why I'm watching this game and I'm surprised we managed to score 3 goals, because I think we beat Everton 2-0 on New Year's Day at Etihad, and that was the last goals we scored at the Etihad for the rest of the season. We ended up with 29 goals over the course of 38 games, so it wasn't a prolific season. It was difficult, but it's one of those, the club's in a different situation now, in a different place, but back then there was times when it was a struggle, and that was one of the seasons, but we managed to stay up, and I think, I don't know, we grow from there, I suppose. So that's what it was. It's one of those phases in the club's history.
There were some good players there still. Do you know, before you look at the club now and the improvement and the infrastructure that's been put in place, but I can imagine still how many supporters were around in the Fulham end either and everywhere, going on away trips, and it's sadly missed, isn't it, at the moment, as you've said, and hopefully we'll get them back. I think it's definitely a different type of crowd. The Fulham don't seem to be they seem to be a little bit more sensible, as I would say. You know, a little bit different to, you say,
until the Manx come to town, obviously. Yes. And you, as you were saying, playing for Fulham there, Michael. What was your history with Fulham? Do you still have a soft spot for them now?
I do. It's a really, really friendly club. Obviously, it's on a much smaller scale than what we're talking about, Manchester City, but it's an extremely friendly one. It's an understanding one. You get to know everybody around the place, and it was just an old football ground. Al Fayed was the owner, so we got to go to Harrods whenever we wanted, and certain different department stores along the way, and little treats. It was just a really good place to play. And as I was say, captain, you'd go in and ask for things, to do things for the team, and it was always a yes. What can we do? How can we help you? And it's great to see them in the Premier League, and they've got to stay there, because as I say, to compete now, the scale of what Fulham have fan-wise, it's a struggle at times. Great location to pick for players though, in the heart of London.
Really hope Fulham stay up, but not starting to get any points tonight, clearly. But from the next game after this, really hope Fulham stay up. Now, gentlemen, if I say to you, Richard, feed the goat, what's the first thing that comes into your mind?
Goals.
Not on the way home, Richard.
I was actually on a Zoom call with him the other day, and literally for an hour he was just chanting and singing his own song, and just loves it. He's brilliant, Sean. A great character.
Absolutely love Sean Goater. He is hilarious whenever he's on the show. And for me, he is my second favourite City player of all time, behind Sergio Aguero. I'm sure he wouldn't be offended me saying that. Before Sergio Aguero, he was my number one. I adore the man. Really nice man on the pitch. Really nice man off the pitch. A real club legend, and a perfect fit for the City TV team to make a documentary just about him. Let's have a little look.
I love the song, mate. It's got a lovely little beat to it.
Gota! Oh! Gota turn. Gota scored.
I think the thing that made Sean Gota a fan favourite was his commitment.
It's a good pullback. It must be an equaliser. It's Sean Gota.
This was the game when it all sort of came together.
Oh, lovely ball. Gota! Gota makes it 5.
Genuinely, he knew exactly where to be and when to be there. And that's just pure instinct.
Although Gota's got the ball here. Gota's run it back and he's scored. That's amazing.
And the best way I could describe it is if Sean went fishing, he wouldn't need a rod, the fish would jump in the net.
Gota. Benamia. Oh, wonderful. Gota.
Lovely ball through Berkovic. Gota's in here and makes it 3-1. It's Sean Gota again.
So Feed the Goat is available on City Plus, and now part of many of the brilliant documentaries that are available on City Plus. And as mentioned as well, you get to watch EDS and women's games on there as well. So well worth signing up for that. Now we want you to send in some of your Sean Gota memories to us via social media. Use the hashtag WNRH. So what was your favourite Sean Gota goal, or what's your favourite memory of Sean Gota? Have you met him? How did you find him in person? Was he hilarious with you as well? And we'd love to see any pictures that you have of you and Sean Gota as well. So send them in to us using the hashtag WNRH. We'll be picking some out to have a look at half-time or full-time. So do let us know your favourite Sean Gota memories. Now is the time in the show where we like to celebrate the fans that we have all over the world. And sometimes we celebrate supporters clubs that are right here in Manchester, and sometimes we celebrate supporters clubs that are around the globe. And today we are celebrating the brilliant supporters club in Shanghai. Now, I'm going to give Michael is laughing. I can see him out the corner of my eyes, which is not helping me. I have been practicing, and I would like to say this to Shanghai. Ni hao woman shell heda chi chi cha china hu.
That's the best you've done, that. That was fantastic. Well done.
Better than my Adebayo from before, wasn't it? Did you understand that?
Yeah, of course I did.
Thank you very much. So that was hello to our supporters clubs in Shanghai. And Vicky, the president, has sent a kind message to Blues all around the world.
Hope all the members and the players at Manchester City can stay healthy. All the City supporters are all over the world. Take care. Hopefully we can go to Etihad Stadium very soon. Okay, now back to the studio.
Thank you very much, Vicky, and thank you to all of our supporters in Shanghai and all around the world. So, for anybody just joining us, we've got about 13 minutes till kick-off. Let's have a recap of the starting 11 tonight. If you've just joined us, pay attention. 7 changes from the team that won against Southampton. So, in goal tonight, you have Edison. And then we have, I'm just going to say the team. I'm not going to say defence, midfield, attack. We don't know. So, it is Cancelo, Diaz, Stones, Laporte, Mendy, Rodri, Torres, Bernardo Silva, Jesus, and Sergio Aguero starts and is the captain tonight. So that is 7 changes from the team that started against Southampton. So we will spend the first 5-10 minutes of the game, or the entire game, looking to see who plays where. The subs bench is Stefan, Walker, Gundogan, Zinchenko, De Bruyne, Fernandinho, Mahrez, Foden and Garcia. And the Fulham team, Areola, Tete, Anderson, Loftus-Cheek, Adebayo, Cavallero, Lamina, Lookman, Reed, Anguissa and Ayana. So that is your 2 starting 11s for tonight's 8 o'clock kickoff. Fulham versus Manchester City. So thank you so much again for joining us on We're Not Really Here. You need to come back at half time, where I promise you we will analyse the positioning of the team and spend probably the whole half talking through the half where everybody is going to be playing. Now, I mentioned about Sean Goater a minute ago being my second favourite player of all time. My favourite player of all time for Manchester City is, of course, Sergio Aguero. And he starts tonight, Richard. So that's got to be a great sign in terms of his recovery.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like you, I love watching him play. I think he's a fantastic player, and I was unfortunate enough to play against him. And he's a difficult player to mark. And he's not found it easy since he's come back from his injury. It's been difficult for him, but there was one moment against Southampton the other night when he got a shot away, and it was just like him in free flow, and it looked great, and the game was over then. So I'm hoping he carries that on today, and it'd be great to see him get a goal.
And important to see him starting, I think, Michael, with the amount of games and the importance of the games that are coming up.
Yeah, I think it's been coming as well. 1 start in 35 games for Manchester City in all competition. That just tells you how little he's played and the level we're talking about. And he's not getting younger. And when you've had some injuries as well, it takes a little bit longer to get into your stride. But what we do know is anywhere, whether you're fit or not, when it comes in the box, he is the best in the business at finishing. No backlift. We've seen him on many occasions. Just needs half a yard. But he's not scored in the Premier League for such a long time. Over 12 months we keep talking about. But he'll know fully. He'll be aware of it. He'll want to get a goal. And we really want to see a strong end of the season from Sergio Aguero. And he's been missed for sure. And it's just great to have him on the pitch. Just seeing you smiling, seeing City fans all around the world. They'll be looking, thinking, what can he bring? It's exciting when he's on the pitch. And I know one thing, the Fulham players will be thinking they don't want him on the pitch, that's for sure.
I love seeing him training there. It's, I love the man so much, and I'm going to be heartbroken whether he leaves, at the end of the season, next season, in 10 years' time, whenever it is, I'm going to be heartbroken. But he does start tonight against Fulham, and I'd love to see him get back on the score sheet at such a pivotal time as well, with so many games coming up. Obviously, we have the Champions League game midweek, and then we have the FA Cup game next weekend as well. Fighting on four fronts, it's only a good thing to see Sergio Aguero starting. And of course, we've mentioned Fulham, in a great run of form at the minute, defensively in the best form of the league. And they, of course, as mentioned, beat Liverpool last week. In that, by beating Liverpool, they were able to go on equal points with Brighton. So they really are fighting for their Premier League survival. In terms of when a team is fighting so hard for Premier League survival, Richard, does that change the mentality of them at all? Do they fight harder at this point, do you think?
Yeah, I suppose the intensity and the importance of the results gets stronger, and you understand the situation you're in. And it can go both ways. If you're in bad form, your form tends to get worse, and it's difficult to get out of it. But these are in good form, and they've performed really well. You can see that they're together, and they follow in exactly what the manager's saying every week. And they obviously have confidence in him because they're picking up results. And they'll look at tonight's match and probably think this isn't the game that's going to define their season. They can probably lose this and still come back from it, but for them it's a free shot to go and show how much they have improved. And I think for that reason, I think City will win, but I can see these making it very tough.
It's unbeaten for City in the last 9 visits to the Cottage, so it'll be a team you don't want to see. The Cottage hasn't been as strong as what you would have expected for Fulham. But they've only lost 4 games, I think, in 17 in the Premier League. So there's obviously, like I said, slow start, shown improvement. But tactically, and we always talk about different things, don't we? But tactically tonight, we're going to see what the difference are from Pep Guardiola, Scott Parker and his side. So it's a real interesting game, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, same. And the teams are in the tunnel now. So before we do go across to the game, let you watch the game, we've got a couple of minutes left to do Guess the Blue. You all know how much I love this. At the start of the season, it was super easy. Then for the last couple of games, producer Tom has really stepped his game up and made it more tough. I haven't got this right for the last 2 games now, so I'm really feeling under pressure. So as you know, we take a picture of a City player from the past and we blur it up a little bit, and then we ask you to try and work out who it is, and tweet us with your answers, #WNRH. So let's have a look. So here we go. Mystery blue. Right, so that's an Eidos shirt for me. That blue colour is that blue...
Main Road era?
Yes. With those white shirts and that white shorts and that blue shirt. Do you have an instant idea?
I've got a good idea. It's always tricky, and you've got to be a little bit creative when you try and do these shots, but I think I've got half a chance.
Do you have an idea, Richard?
Yeah, it's more difficult than the ones in previous weeks, but it's my era, so it's one of those when you think you have a fair chance of getting it.
Yeah, producer Tom, I think I know who it is. I think I've had the pleasure of interviewing him a couple of times, and I think I've publicly said he's one of my favourite interviews of all time. So, yes, maybe a tip for all you City Square followers out there as well. So, kick-off in under 5 minutes. So we want you tweeting us with your guesses for Mystery Blue, and we also want you tweeting in your Sean Go-To memories and pictures. And, of course, I always like to see how you're watching the game as well, so any pictures of your setup at home as well. We'll, of course, be here at half-time, where, as I've said, we'll probably spend most of it picking through the lineup and where everybody's going to be playing. And then, of course, we're back at full time as well for instant match analysis. So the teams are just coming out now. Before that, we're just going to quickly ask you, Michael, prediction?
Oh, so tough. I'm going to have to go with 3-1 Manchester City.
Richard?
I'm going to go 3-0.
I'm going to go 2-0. Perfect timing. So if you're not watching the game live on television, this is the point where on the Manchester City app, you want to be listening to the wonderful Alistair Mann, True Blue Alistair Mann, who'll be doing the best commentary available. We'll be back here at half time. Enjoy the game.
Anelka, yes, it's 1-0 to Manchester City. And Sibieski, good header, and it's knocked in by Rainer. Darius Vassell.
Silva, who finds the net. Aguero inside the area. It's Aguero.